Hi there, this is Steve Hackett. You're listening to Mystery Tour.
So, dear Steve, what about this amazing tour you did in South America? We are reading sold out in Chile, sold out in Argentina. What can you tell us about this wonderful tour?
Well, I haven't played in South America for a while, and the amazing thing is that it's such an extraordinary continent to visit. You know, it's so varied and extraordinary. It's like a place where Europe was transplanted amidst the palm trees and extraordinary temperatures of South America. Obviously, the links with where you are very strong. You know, the Italian influence in Argentina and the Spanish influence in Chile and the Portuguese in Brazil. It's very, very strong. It was an amazing tour, and I think I will be going back soon, you know, to do more stuff.
Yeah, and within a week, your new album, Wolflight, will be available. Here in Italy, the wolf is like a symbol of nature endangered by mankind. What do you think about the wolf as a symbol?
I think it's a very good one. The thing about the wolf, in a way, it was a totem of early man, both outwardly as a friend to man, but then also for the man's inner journey, it was also important. And of course, for the album sleeve, 1 hour outside Rome, I got to spend time with them for a day, photographing them, and it was quite wonderful. Wonderful creatures, and very, very intelligent, very welcoming, and very interesting to see the way they interact with their own young. So I got to play with them, with the children, the cubs, and with the adults. And the adults wanted me to play with all of their children equally. It was a very nice, very fine moment for me
to get acquainted with these amazing creatures.
Yes, to get acquainted with these amazing creatures, and amazing is the word for them. And it's a very strange thing. You know, when I was a child, I used to have nightmares about them, of course. You know, and now and they become friends, and it's as if it's come full circle. I spent an amazing time with them, and of course, you know, the idea of the album, the Wolflight, and the link with the ancestors is very strong. Many of the songs are about the nomadic tribes who eventually got to make up Europe, part of Africa, and also China. They are the people who the Chinese built the wall in order to keep them out, and they are the people who brought down the Roman Empire eventually as well. So the song Wolflight is really about them and a snapshot of their lives. Well, I've also done a video of the song Wolflight. There are 2 songs on the album that have 2 very long, extensive videos. One is Wolflight, the other one is Love Song to a Vampire. So, and then there's another little video which goes with one of the tracks, The Wheels Turning. So, you know, quite a lot of the early part of the album has got video accompaniments.
This album contains orchestral elements, epic choirs, exotic flavors. How do you start? Like, which is your main influence as a composer? From where do you start when you write down a song?
It starts with a doodle. You know, it's something that I hear in my head. Mm-hmm. And if I don't hear it in my head to start off with, then I don't use it.
Okay.
So there has to be something that resonates. I don't try to write too consciously. there has to be some kind of echo going on, or some kind of vision, some kind of premonition that this is the way it's supposed to sound.
And then you arrange the song with keyboard sequencers and stuff?
Yeah, I try my best to orchestrate it in my mind and take the detail as far as I can. But then, of course, when I'm working with drums, I can only take it so far because other people are more gifted rhythmically than I am. And I rely on them to fill in the detail. I mean, I have certain rhythms that I'm attracted to, which thrill me, but other people, whether that's Gary, our drummer Gary, or Gary O'Toole, or whether it's Roger King, we're working out rhythmic ideas the whole time.
Yeah, and like a couple of years ago, I've seen an awesome gig in Verona in an ancient theater.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing with Genesis Revisited, and this year marks the 40th anniversary of Voyage of the Acolyte. Am I correct?
That's right.
So
yes.
What shall we expect from the new gigs?
I'm going to do a show which is really from Acolyte to Wolflight, and but I will also try to include some Genesis as well, because people have been asking for that. So I think it'll be an interesting show. And Royner Stolt is going to be involved as well, from Flower Kings and Transatlantic and Agents of Mercy. So he's going to be helping me with this. He's offered to play bass, 12-string, and lead guitar. So we have the whole thing.
And on the website we can see plenty of gigs in the UK.
Yeah, plenty of gigs in the UK, and then there'll be ones up in September, I think, in Europe. So I imagine I'll be in Italy, I think, in September, and then in the United States towards the end of the year.
Okay, so we can hope for a gig in Italy. That's cool.
Absolutely, yes. I hope so as well.
And like, you started out very, very young with Genesis, and
yes,
like, when did you decide to be a guitar player in your life?
Well, I was a harmonica player before I was a guitarist. Very early days, I was trying to play ever since I was 2 years old, and really, guitar became very interesting to me in about the year 1959. I was 9 years old at that time, and I started to buy records, first of all, The Shadows and Cliff Richard and the Shadows, and I followed the progress of people who were guitar heroes at the time, Dwayne Eddy, and many early guitar players, and then I became more interested in rhythm and blues, because a lot of the developments that were happening in the guitar were happening with very simple music, but with very exciting sounds. So the Rolling Stones were part of that, and all of the blues groups and guitarists of the 1960s were an influence on me. And of course, along the way, you realize that the influence of black players and singers and writers were hugely important in terms of the development sonically of rock and roll's roots.
Yeah, and I know it's quite hard, I guess, to answer, but which are your best and worst memories of the early days, like in Genesis?
You mean with Genesis, did you say?
Yeah.
Well, my best memories are seeing a band develop from something which did very small venues, first of all, to ending up doing very, very large ones. And it was exciting to me to learn that John Lennon was listening to the band around 1973,
Yeah.
when he said we were one of the bands that he was listening to. Well, that was very exciting to me. Bad memories, I think. I'm not sure I really have that many bad memories of it. You know, I think that any musician, there's a struggle to have some kind of effect and some kind of imprint on whatever else is going on. It moves very slowly. Sometimes the effect that you want doesn't happen as quickly as you would like.
Yeah.
But I think the joys far outweigh the difficulties.
Yeah. And like, were you experiencing back then, you as a band, the typical rock band way of living, you know, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or was it something more quiet?
Well, I think that as the band became more and more famous, I had a kind of lifestyle that developed. First of all, I used to just drink beer, and then I found I couldn't do the gig with Genesis if I had a few beers.
Yeah.
It didn't really work. You know, you had to be on the money, and
Yeah.
I think in terms of relationships, I've been married 3 times.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me that between the marriages, usually that was the time when I was in the early days, certainly in the 1970s, I was quite busy with a number of ladies, and but yeah, you know, it was just a case of being young and not really not always in love.
Just like the material world.
The material world, yes, and there were many people, you know, there were, but I wasn't trying to. Let's put it this way, to live the life of a typical musician. I just fell into certain things, and I had certain experiences that are part of a young guy's life, I think. I think I was quite typical in that way.
Do the words progressive rock mean something to you?
Well, I think music has got a chance to progress, and whether it progresses as rock or whether it progresses as something else. Rock, for me, is music that appears with a certain kind of strength. But then I find myself just as interested in other kind of music, that there's a good melody, whether that's folk music or classical music or world music, even from jazz. A great melody is a great melody, wherever that comes from.
Yeah, no boundaries from, you know, genres and stuff.
No, I think that's the nice thing about progressive music, is that the true spirit of progressive music is something that has no limits and no rules and no boundaries. So for me, progressive music means you could have a tune any length from 1.5 minutes to something that's perhaps half an hour long, the length of a concerto.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in long form, but equally I love short songs as well. So I think the real challenge is to try and say something simply, if you can. I mean, I know a lot of people look to progressive music because of its complication and its detail, but sometimes simplicity is a very desirable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you still keeping in touch with the guys from Genesis?
Yes, I saw them a while back, and just a few months ago, in fact. And it's very interesting to see how they all relate to music still in different ways.
Yeah. Finally, what do you think about, promoting your music nowadays in the internet era, the differences between, the early days?
Yes, I am promoting things on the internet, using all the different social networks, whether that's website, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, and also YouTube. We've done 3 different videos for this album. There's almost half an hour's worth of video work to accompany the album, and bit by bit, those things will be available to people. So it's a very exciting time, I think.
Yeah, and one final message, greeting to the Italian fans who always loved Steve Hackett music since the early beginnings.
Yes, I'm looking forward to coming back to Italy, of course, because it's a huge part of my life. I spent a vast amount of time in Italy, and you know that I love it, and it's a wonderful place. Can't wait to come back to say hello to those people. It's so much more than just a professional involvement for me. Something very personal, very very direct with the Italian people. Many friends, extended family. It's a very beautiful, lovely country.